Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Aidan, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, of course I will. Good morning, David. Can you hear me okay?
Morning.
I just wanted to check any injury news first of all, and will Ben Rama be involved? It occurred to me that with the form you're in, it might be quite difficult for him to break into the starting 11.
Well, at the moment we've got everybody in pretty good order. Seb Haller had picked up a bit of an injury in training before the last game, but he's trained, so we're expecting Seb to be available as well this weekend, everything going well. And Saeed's doing well. I think he's needing to get up to speed of what we want and where we're at. So it's given us the way the players are playing, it's given me that opportunity to take a little bit more time with them anyway. And it's a bit like I've always said with the boys we bring in for the championship. I'm not in a great rush to put them into the team and put them in. I want to give them opportunities, but I want to do it at the right time when I think it's best for them.
Will it be a hard job pulling a few of your players off the ceiling after the euphoria of that result last week? I mean, for a lot of players, that will be that kind of result, that kind of performance late on is a once in a career event. Sometimes it can leave them a little bit high sometimes before the next game.
Yeah, but I think I'd rather my players high than low because we hadn't won or we didn't get out of the game. But so I've got to say the players were magnificent to score 3 goals in the last 10 minutes, to score a goal like we did. So no, we should enjoy it. Why shouldn't we? You know, we're always very honest and we put ourselves down quite quickly. So on this occasion, we should be talking well about it. It only got us a point, so we're not daft. We know that we wanted to get 3 points, but we got 1 from something which didn't look as if we were going to get any.
Can I ask your thoughts on a possible European Premier League? Does this show that, come what may, some of the top clubs in this country are looking to break away at some point? It's just maybe a matter of time before they go ahead and do it?
I think the Champions League's a really good format. I can only guess it's more to do with money and getting a bigger chunk of the money than maybe what they are. I think the one good thing what the Premier League does, when I had my year in Spain, the one thing I learned is most of the money goes to Real Madrid and Barcelona, and then the rest of the clubs get their appropriate amount down because of TV money. That's the last thing we want to happen in the Premier League, because the one thing we will say is everybody gets the same at the start. We all got the same amount of money. Obviously, the bigger clubs will earn more from extra TV games, but at least at the start we try to be fair. If we're now getting into a situation where certain clubs are going to have so much more than the others, it's going to make the competition, unlike the games we have in the Premier League, where at the moment it's very difficult to judge the outcome of so many of the games. So I hope it doesn't, and I've been one who's been championing. I think that Celtic and Rangers should have been joining the Premier League, and I've been hoping for 40 years that was going to be the case, that they were going to be invited down to England, because the 2 clubs up there are huge and would be great. So why suddenly now we make something up and we think that we should have a European League? You know, as I said, I've been a Scotsman. I was hoping that those 2 clubs would get to England, and I've been waiting for 40 years and still not. 50 years and still not seen any signs of it. So why suddenly can we just change it, football round and not have a European League, I should say?
Slightly different matter. 10 defeats in a row against Manchester City, 6 of those conceding 4 or more goals. Is there scope for you changing the squad's psychological sort of approach to this game? But when you were at Everton hadn't won at Tottenham since the mid-80s, and then you go and rattle off 3 wins in a row at White Hart Lane. I mean, do you believe in the psychology of these trends and these runs that can get inside a player's head?
Well, we have to change it. So what you've said is we have to do better, change it. But we think if we're playing well, we're an improving team. But I think you would also have to say probably over that period of 10 years, Manchester City have put an incredible investment, and they've changed to become one of the best in the world, if not the best at times in that period. So it's not been easy for any club playing them, but we'll try and play them. I'd like to give them a good game if I can, and see what we can do.
Thanks, Aidan. Hugh?
Morning, David. Jumping off that point from Aidan, really, how as you approach a game like Manchester City, do you balance out risk versus reward? Because I think you proved against Spurs at the weekend that actually fighting fire with fire against a perceived bigger club might actually be a fairly successful way to go.
Well, I think at this time in the season we're not sure exactly how the results are going. I mean, we saw Leicester get a really good result against Manchester City, but it was played in a way where Leicester played deep, but counter-attacked and won the game, got 3 penalty kicks in the game. So it's the way football is at the moment. I think Manchester City, as we've seen, are improving at this moment in time from probably the start of the season. But so are we. I think we're improving all the time. I think our games have showed that there's an improvement from the start to where we are now. So, and I would even say from even before lockdown, I think we've an improvement. So, we'll go into the game. We hope to give them a really good game. They make it difficult for you, but I'm hoping that we can give them more problems than maybe done in the past.
The next couple of games you have against City and then Liverpool, you've managed on the other side of a particularly strong rivalry that those two clubs have. I'm just wondering, for you personally, David, even though you've moved on, you're at a different club now, do those rivalries kind of linger with you instinctively? Do you find yourself enjoying the challenge still even now?
Yeah, I think when you look back, you will do. But at the moment, I'm only really concentrating in the group we've got and how, I've got to say how well the players have played here and how the improvement on them. So that for me is giving me a great lift, giving me real confidence that we can go and try and take them on. My idea of coming to West Ham is not to be challenging around the bottom. I want to do what I've done in the past, and nearly all the teams I've had have been competing in and around European positions. So my aim for the future, my ambition is to get West Ham in a similar situation.
And just one final point about side, Ben Rama. He's going to be going up against potentially a particularly successful Algerian in Riyad Mahrez. What similarities do you see between the two, and how might side fit into a formation at the moment which has for you been so successful recently?
Well, I think there's a difference in comparison. I think Riyad Mahrez came from the champions of England at one time, who were Leicester City. We've got Saïd Ben Rama coming from the Championship, and we're bringing him on and we're developing him, and we're looking to see that he can step up to the levels which required. But what we've seen at the moment, I think there's good signs. I think we're trying to get him into a little bit quicker, a little bit ready for the Premier League, what's to be expected. And as I said before, I've done it with quite a lot of Championship players over the years, so I'll take my time, bring them on when I'm ready, and hopefully get him in the right condition to start and play well when he does.
Thank you. Ian?
Hi David, first time I've seen you since you've been back, so I hope you're fitting well.
Thank you, I'm feeling good.
Good. I think West Ham probably must be one of the most improved teams since the opening day of the season, when you were very unhappy when they lost to Newcastle. What has changed? And you were just hinting there about possible European aspirations.
Yeah, actually, first thing I have to say is I think we were much better. We didn't play well against Newcastle, we accept that on the opening day, but we'd felt good from a period long before that. Our short pre-season, we played well in the friendlies. Our games against the teams after lockdown, we played well. We were one of the better teams in that period. So I think there's been a growing change. But obviously the recent results have been terrific. And obviously coming back from 3-0 down against Tottenham as well shows the sort of never say die attitude which is amongst the players, and a real commitment to try and keep going. So I think there's been a lot of improvements. We've still got a lot to do. We're a long way away. But the point I made regarding Europe was to say that over the piece at Everton, we had tried every year to be competing in European football. My ambition and aim for West Ham would be where I'd like to go. But we're a long way to go from that at the moment.
Big project, big picture, and the talk of the European Super League might well bring more problems to the English game. But I was very interested by your assertion that maybe Rangers and Celtic should be playing down south. Would that not just make it more problems in Scotland, and would that not just kill the game in Scotland?
Yeah, and I think that it's something which has been a big consideration. But I'm just, as someone who come from Scotland, I think both Celtic and Rangers are completely underestimated in what their clubs would bring to any football league. So I actually think that having them in their level of support and their teams would be a good thing for the Premier League. That's my opinion. Yes, would it have effect in Scottish football? I'm sure it would be in some way, just like the effect would come if a lot of our so-called bigger teams would step aside and go into a European League. We wouldn't necessarily like that. And for that point, I'm saying, well, I've been holding 40, 50 years that Rangers or Celtic might get into the Premier League. So why suddenly can we change the dynamics or the setup of the English leagues and suddenly go to a European League? Surely it couldn't be done that quickly.
Finally, it's a two-pronged question. Are City as good as they were, say, 2 or 3 years ago going into this game? And you now have an excellent balance in midfield of Souček and Rice. So what's the future for Mark Noble?
I think Manchester City are still and are one of the best teams in the world. And I think they're probably in a slight transitional period, they lost Company a year or two ago, they lost David Silva, so they're trying to add to and get the level of those players which Manchester City have had over the years, and they're looking for that. But from our point of view, as you mentioned, Mark Noble has a massive part to play here. Thomas and Declan have played ever so well, but Mark Noble, after lockdown, was probably our best player, arguably our best player. So he's got plenty more games in him, Mark, and he'll be involved in many games in the future.
Thanks, Ian. Andy?
Hi, David. West Ham fans obviously unable to attend these last 3 league fixtures, which have been pretty exciting, obviously. Have you, while they've not been able to be there, have you had some sort of impression through the people around the club, just what it's meant to them to see those sort of performances?
I said to the people around me here, I said, what it would have been like to have seen them, what it would have been like when we got the third goal against Tottenham, coming from 3-0 down. I can imagine what it would have been like when we were 3-0 down, but I think when we got back, I think it would have showed them, what we're trying to do. I think we're building we've got a great team spirit going on at the moment, and that's showed by the boys coming off the bench and scoring or making a difference. So it's probably as good as we've had it here, or certainly since I've been here in the 2 times now, and we're trying to build on it. But we're only at the start. We know we've got loads and loads to go, so we're certainly not getting carried away with ourselves. But we're excited by the wins. We're excited by the level of performance. Where football's improving. We're scoring goals in all the games. It will look as if we can score goals in all the games. We know there's a lot of bits of the team we have to stop conceding goals. But overall, I think there's an awful lot of good things going on.
When you've been on a run like this before, would you actually prefer maybe not to have another mountain to climb every time when you look at the next fixture, whether it's like Man City or Liverpool after this one? Would you prefer it to be, a fixture where you can sort of take the sort of form you're in and maybe really go on the front foot?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that when we played the teams who are the so-called bigger teams, we've actually done very well. We get a good result. We drew at Old Trafford last year. We beat Chelsea at home. So we have to go into it with that intention to try and get something from the game. And I think our wins against Wolves and Leicester would show that we're not far off competing against a lot of the teams now around the top. But again, that's why those teams like Manchester City, like Liverpool, is because they can do it consistently. And all the teams who think they've got a chance, they come in and knock them over. So we've got to try and stand up and make it as difficult and encounter as we possibly can. But in the same breath, we want to try and play well and show them that we're improving as well.
And just finally from me on Manuel Lanzini, he's a player that a few years ago was someone that was maybe almost first name on the team sheet at West Ham. He's such an exciting attacking player. But was he held back a lot by the injury that he had? And what do you think he can now do for you?
Yeah. Well, I missed his injury, and thankfully I did, because when I had him the first time, he was terrific. No doubt the injury has had an impact on where he is in different ways, but I don't see it being a reason for him not to get back to those levels. And I've got to say, his training's been improving. He's got competition. He realises that. He's not, as you said, he's not the number one pick. He's got competition. And I think when you're with competition, what the best thing you can do is do what you done the other night. You have to show you have to come on, when you get the moments, you have to have an impact in the game. And I think that's the way you work your way back to it. You know, there can be no given guarantee to any player, certainly not at West Ham at the moment. We've got really good competition for places at the moment, and we want Manu to be part of that because he's got a talent and he is a talented football player.
Thanks, Andy. Cameras off. Thank you. Dan.